The second you enter the room, the conversation stops. Did they talk about me in the past and before I entered?
2007, youngest foreign minister.
In my family, we have three confessions. We have Orthodox Christianity and Catholic Christianity, as well as Islam.
A question that you wouldn't ask a diplomat
was that nobody else at that time wanted the post.
It makes you the perfect symbol of tolerance.
But it was a secret ballot, and I won 99.85, and it was a shock for everybody.
AGDA's mission is to equip the next generation of diplomats. But beyond diplomacy, we believe that what creates inspirational stories is the people and their magic. In today's episode, one of the youngest foreign ministers in Europe, also one of the youngest people to serve as president of the UN General Assembly. Today, let's get to know the man behind the uniform, His Excellency Yerimétch Vuk. When it was confirmed that you were coming to Abu Dhabi, like a typical C student, I'm very below average student.
Me too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Not from what I read online, but yeah, okay. But I'm a real C student. So I went on Wikipedia, read about you. And before getting into your life, I found something actually super interesting. Your family. Can you please share with us 90-40 from your maternal side and your paternal side? Both of them have a beautiful story. Can you please take the time?
Oh, thank you very much for bringing it up. I wasn't really expecting to talk about a family, but that's certainly easier than talking about global affairs and what's currently going on in this crazy world. I come from a mixed background. Balkans is one of those places which is quite similar to the Levant in terms of complexity, richness, cultural diversity, ethnic, religious diversity, and so on and so forth. So my family is actually very mixed. My paternal side, Serbian, Orthodox Christian, and my mother's side, Bosniak, Muslim. And I'm married actually to a half Croatian, half Montenegrin. So in my family, we have three confessions. We have Orthodox Christianity and Catholic Christianity, as well as Islam in our family. And it's always been very mixed and very interesting to have family gathered throughout the years. But in the 40s, because you asked me about the 40s. 40s were the years of the Second World War. And both of my family, both sides of my family, they fought against the Nazis, against the Nazi occupation. But they followed a different path in this battle, because one of them, my grandfather, on the paternal side, because he was a Royal Military officer, he at some point was captured by the Germans and sent to the concentration camp. So he survived two very difficult concentration camps. One was Mauthausen, and the other was Dachau. So he survived those concentration camps and then came back to Serbia on foot. Whereas the other side, my maternal side, they went to the partisan movement, to the communist partisan movement. And my great-grandfather was actually the first deputy to Tito, the future to be ruler of Yugoslavia. So it's not only that my mother's and my father's side come from different confessional backgrounds. They also came from two ideological backgrounds. My father's family being very anti-communist and royalist, and my mother's side very communist. So the mix between my mother and my father, brought about like both cultural, confessional, as well as ideological diversity. that had been inspiring me always and up to this day.
It makes you the perfect symbol of tolerance.
Yeah, I'd love to think so.
Yes, yes.
That way. So not everybody would agree with you back in Serbia because politics is always difficult, right? But thank you for saying it yourself because that's how I see myself.
That's how I personally see it.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's how I see it. And that's why when I read your biography, I was like, oh, wait, actually, the story behind is actually is the key probably to what has been unfolding, So, because it's in the academy and we focus a lot on our students, I want to get to know you as a student. So you went to Cambridge, you studied theoretical physics.
Yeah.
Why? Why?
Because we started off this conversation by my saying that I wasn't really a great student. And I wasn't. Actually, I did, go to Cambridge to study theoretical physics because I thought at that time that I was going to be a physicist. But then in Cambridge, I met people who were really going to be physicists, and I wasn't one of them. This is when I realized that actually this is one of the biggest lessons that I learned in my education, and that is that I'm not the smartest person in the world. And you'd be surprised how few, especially in politics and international relations, have mastered that lesson, that they're not the smartest in the world. Well, I was lucky enough to be surrounded by people at the undergraduate university of mine in Cambridge who were like so smarter, and who were better students than I was. So I entered Cambridge with a belief and hope that I was going to be a student, not just a graduate student, but then in the future physicist. But then I left Cambridge after graduation with deep understanding that I'm not smart enough to be a scientist. So I went to do other things in life.
Yeah. So when you were a student there, it was during the Yugoslav wars.
Yes.
War. Yeah. If I could use this word, how have you managed as a student immigrant? You were an immigrant to the UK as a student during that time. How did you manage this perception, that maybe this feeling of justifying and explaining, or maybe being guilty?
It was very difficult. It was very, very difficult because at that time, it was the mid-90s. I'm talking about my undergrad, because I had a very different experience at my postgraduate university.
Imperial.
It was in America, Harvard University.
Yes.
I did the Kennedy School of Government after the 90s. But during the 90s, the 1990s, and I'm undergrad, I'm 18, 19 years old. I'm in the UK, and everybody's watching the Yugoslav war. And a very, I'd say, a biased version of the Yugoslav war was being presented to the British audience, right? In which, everything's simplified and they're bad guys, and bad guys are Serbs from Serbia, and I'm from Serbia, so I'm coming from the bad guys. Who knows that I'm like a mixed background and like that? For me, for most people, I was like a Serbian student from Belgrade, right? And I come from the bad guys' side, right? And of course, it was far too simplified. As you know, in this part of the world, everything's quite nuanced, right? But it was a very frustrating experience because it would happen to me more than once that I enter a room full of students. And the second you enter the room, the conversation stops. Did they talk about me in the past and before I entered? I don't know. Maybe not. But they definitely stopped the conversation when I entered the room. So it was not a beautiful experience, to be very honest. And now this is why I'm sympathizing with people who come from war-torn areas, and they come from let's say a side that is not viewed in a very positive ways, and instantaneously they get the mark of the political leadership of that side, which is not terribly popular in the given environment. And I really, really think that in academic communities, now I am a member of the academic community because I'm teaching myself. I'm a professor at Sciences Po, professor of practice of international affairs. I try and make sure that students do not feel burdened by the background that they come with, the ethnic, national background that they come with to an academic institution, to a university.
Thank you. So when you were there and studying, when was that moment? What happened? What happened for you to... No, sorry, let me rephrase this. When you were a student and you were not very happy with physics and you knew that this is not what you're going to do, can you tell me when you felt that what was meant for you was actually to
get to public service?
Exactly. Politics,
well, it happened a little after my undergraduate studies. When I graduated from Cambridge with this degree in theoretical physics and the knowledge that I was never going to be a physicist, at that time I still did not know what I was going to do.
Can I ask you, how old were you?
I was, that was in 1998, I was 23.
Okay.
So I was 23 when I graduated, and since I did not know what I was going to do, I followed the crowd from the university and from Cambridge. A great number of people went into the world of finance. You go to London, you go to the city of London, you try to find a job, in a bank. And since I was Serbian, and it was not an easy thing for me to find a job because you need a work permit. You needed a work permit at that time. It was difficult to get work permits at that time for the non-European Union nationals like Serbian, right? So I actually had to go to another educational institution, to a university, Imperial College in London, and I signed up to do a PhD. Doctoral studies in mathematics this time around, actually applied mathematics and finance.
Okay.
So that on a student visa, I could work in a bank. So I was studying math, financial math, and then so that I could work and not be as paid as I'd be paid normally if I just worked, but like at a big discount. I was paid at a big discount as a student, so they were actually making a big use of me at that time. But I thought that, okay, I don't know what to do. I know I cannot be a physicist, so let me try and make money in life. That was the thing at that time. And then what really changed my mind and changed my life was the 1999 military intervention, actually aggression of NATO against my country, against Serbia. It was the infamous, if you will, Kosovo war. And since my country was bombed, attacked and bombed by the Western Alliance, and my family was there, my friends were there, and so on and so forth, I felt really bad. Just like living in London and, just not being able to do anything. That thing changed my mind. That thing changed my life. And soon after the war was over, I asked for a break at the university and went back to Serbia, and I engaged in political affairs. Ended up being in the group that managed to change the government, and I entered the government as a very young person right after these political changes that took place in Serbia in the year 2000.
Fast forward, 2007, youngest foreign minister.
Yes, I was the youngest at that time. I believe I was the youngest in the world.
Your mother must have been very proud.
My mother was not terribly elated because, remember, I come from a political family.
Yes.
This mother's side, maternal side, was political. And at least in the Balkans, politics and political careers rarely end in a glorious way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, yeah.
So my mother, who was not political, but, her parents were political and grandparents and so on and so forth, she was like kind of not too happy that I entered politics, especially became like the youngest foreign minister.
Exactly.
But I'll reveal to you a secret. The reason why I became foreign minister at the age of 32 was that nobody else at that time wanted the post. It was a very specific moment.
Okay.
It was less than 1 year before Kosovo would declare independence in a highly controversial way. Everybody knew that this declaration of independence of Kosovo was coming, and nobody wanted the hot potato to become foreign minister. So when I was asked to be foreign minister, at that time I was advisor to our president. I was a foreign policy advisor to our president. But when he asked me to be foreign minister, I said, well, why are you doing this to me? I'm going to burn in this post. And he said, yeah, you probably will burn, but you're young, so you're going to be able to come back at some point. So I had no choice. President asked me to do this. I had to take it up, and somehow I didn't burn. Somehow, I was exceptionally lucky, I guess, and I stayed foreign minister for 2 terms.
Yeah.
So for almost full 6 years, I stayed foreign minister from 2007 until 2012.
So the lesson is take the risk.
Not necessarily take the risk. Do consider the situation very seriously, and sometimes do take the risk. Not always, and not with everything on stake.
June 2012, elected president of the UN, General Assembly.
Yeah.
So, during that time, can you please tell me what do you consider your best achievement and also your failure?
Well, the way that my presidency of the UN General Assembly came about was very unusual, because it was the first time that it was a contested election.
Yeah.
For the first time after the end of the Cold War, right? So between the end of the Cold War and 2012, the countries would agree as to who would be the next president of the General Assembly, and he or she would serve for 1 year, but she'd be actually elected by acclamation, by consensus. Well, in my year, it was different. So I actually ran against someone, and I come from a small country, remember, Serbia. And the guy who I ran against was from the European Union, Lithuanian candidate, right? So Serbia running against the EU, it was like we were considered to be an underdog. And I think it was the first time in the UN General Assembly after the end of the Cold War that not only the election took place for president of the General Assembly, but actually that somebody from arguably Global South, Serbia is a member of the Global South. I mean, we're not EU, we're not NATO. We are a European country, but we're perhaps like the northmost country of the Global South.
Yes.
But we're definitely not with the European or the Euro-Atlantic community, right? That the candidate of the Global South defeated the candidate of the Global North. In my case, the European Union. It was a secret vote. And the Europeans, as well as the Americans, were completely sure that they were winning. But it was a secret ballot, and I won, 99-85. And it was a shock for everybody. So I think that the first important thing was how it came about and whose support did I have to become president of the General Assembly. Now, in the 12 months that I spent at the helm of the General Assembly, I think that the most important thing that I did was to bring about and chair the session when Palestine actually became an observer state, non-member, not like a full member of the UN, but like an observer state in the United Nations. And I chaired this historical session. And I remember that back then, everybody thought that this was going to help accelerate coming to a two-state solution. And we all know that the following 12 years from 2012 until today did not bring the fulfillment of these hopes. So personally, that was what I think was the most important. But what others would say that it was the most important is that I actually set up a negotiation mechanism comprised of 193 countries, all the members of the United Nations, that ended up yielding the Sustainable Development Goals. Because the General Assembly was given a mandate to negotiate the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. And it was a rather unexpected decision reached in Rio de Janeiro in June 2012. It was at the time when I was already elected. I was elected president of the General Assembly without knowing that I'm going to be given, like 2 weeks later, the task to organize the negotiations on Sustainable Development Goals. And, 193 countries, ranging from, United Kingdom to North Korea, from South Africa, Iceland, Russia, Mexico, everybody, right? So imagine having to negotiate with 193. It's impossible to do it in plenary.
No.
So you had to set up a structure in which you divide various, let's say, trajectories of negotiation and mechanisms of negotiation in which you would fit each and every one and group each and every one in a way that they can sit at the table and talk to each other without hitting each other and whatnot, right? So it took me a few months to structure, of course, with the help of others, but I was presiding over this process to help structure a mechanism that ended up 3 years later coming up with Sustainable Development Goals. And that other people believe that was the most important thing. I personally think it was Palestine.
Palestine. Sports. So when I saw you before yesterday, you just landed from Beijing, and we had that event here happening in Abu Dhabi. Yeah. And I told you, you look like in a good mood for someone that had slept. Yeah. Your answer was, I went to the gym this morning.
Yes, I did.
And
I go to the gym.
Actually, can you draw? I know you play tennis, right? And you're the president of?
I used to be president of the Serbian Tennis Federation.
Okay.
But no, because I was like a very good tennis player.
But you play?
I do play tennis, of course, and enjoy it. And everybody in Serbia, well, not everybody plays tennis, but everybody in Serbia enjoys tennis because the best sportsman, I'd say, in the world is Novak Djokovic, who is a proud Serbian, and we are all very proud of him.
I am as well. I am as well.
Did you know that when I was president of the UN General Assembly, one of the things that I managed to do is to pass through the General Assembly, and it has to be passed by consensus, and nothing is easy when consensus is necessary. We established International Day of Sports for Peace and Development, and it is April 6th. We did it together with the International Olympic Committee. And every April 6th, it is being celebrated in all member states of the United Nations. But my demand to Jacques Rogge, who was at that time president of the IOC, of the International Olympic Committee, because he insisted that we pick April 6th, because this is the day when the International Olympic Committee was formed.
Okay.
So it's the Olympic Committee's day, and he wanted the UN to have the same date for the peace and for sports for peace and development. So I said, yes, okay, we will do that, provided that on the historic day when this is declared, on behalf of all the world athletes, Novak Djokovic addresses the UN General Assembly. So he did. He did. On behalf of all the world athletes, Novak spoke at the UN, and everybody was very proud about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not from Serbia, but I'm proud as well, trust me. 2 quick last questions. I know we're running out of time. If the past 5 years were a chapter in a book, how would you call this chapter? The past 5 years.
Past 5 years? The age of wondering.
Ah.
The age of wondering.
I will steal this title. A question that you wouldn't ask a diplomat.
A question?
That you wouldn't ask a diplomat.
Do you really believe what you're saying?
I love this. I love this. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Actually, I forgot to tell you one word that I've learned before starting the podcast. It was kako si.
Oh, dobro, hvala. Kako si ti?
Kako si ti? Dobra.
Thank you.
Good accent?
Great. Absolutely. Absolutely wonderful. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your time. And I hope we will come soon visit you.
Please consider having an open invitation to visit Serbia, but I might also be coming perhaps more frequently in the future here to Abu Dhabi.
Yes, yes. Inshallah.
Inshallah. Inshallah. Inshallah.
Inshallah. Kako si, inshallah. Okay.
Exactly.
Thank you.